Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ventures Podcast. This episode is about a niche in Web3 that we really haven't talked about too much, and this is the play to earn space. Chase Thompson is the founder of Arena.gl, and they provide tools for community and games to come together and play any game and earn tokens, and has a variety of really interesting token models and incentives that he's baked into the product. And so actually, if you are a Web2 product manager learning how to become a Web3 product manager, in this episode, we actually dive into a lot of those details. We hear his story. He has an extensive background in Web3. And I ask a number of questions that I think will be really helpful for you as you're thinking about how to architect and design products in Web3. So if you're listening to this episode, you can also watch by visiting wclittle.com. There I'll have more extensive links, show notes to the things that we talk about today. And if you're watching, you can also listen anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can just search for Ventures. So with that, please enjoy this conversation with Chase Thompson. All right, Chase, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Will. Happy to be here.
I'm excited about this conversation for a number of different reasons. There are so many beautiful aspects of Web3 that I think are missed with the headlines, with the pump and dump, with a lot of the things that I think it's good. Like, we need better skeptics in Web3. But I would love to just start by, having the listeners, the viewers, learn a little bit more about you, what got you into Web3, and sort of tell the story into what you're doing now. That'd be awesome.
Okay, I won't give you the excruciating details, but long story short, right after school, I went straight overseas, was an expat for about 12 years, a lot of different places, a lot of different countries, and along the road, I was in Dubai in 2007, and a neighbor in the building just so happened to be Eric Voorhees, where I was living. If you're unfamiliar with Eric, he's kind of a prolific, was a prolific Bitcoin guy. Now is just prolific generally throughout the space. Founded Satoshi Dice. Before that, he was working at BitInstant, Charlie Shrem. And then after Satoshi Dice, he founded Shapeshift. We kind of just had this chance encounter. We went to brunch. And then a couple of years later, I think it was 2012, I had heard of Bitcoin. I remember thinking in my head, that's going to be a thing. And then I saw this guy who I met at brunch debating Peter Schiff, who I had heard of. And, it was kind of getting interested in these concepts of like preserving value and money, and Schiff's big gold guy. And I remember watching Eric just mop the floor with him and being like, wow, I never knew that like smiley, friendly dude who I had, some brunch with would have been such he absolutely just made some killer arguments, left Peter kind of speechless. And I think at that moment I was like, okay, now I'm really interested. And by 2014, I was like, okay, I really need to get into this space full time. It was tough because, I had founded a business overseas. It was doing really well. It's kind of golden handcuffs. But I actually made the decision back in 2014 to try to start to step away from that. And, it took me a little over a year to do it. But I decided to. I was in Malaysia at the time, where there's a lot of great teams there now, but, there wasn't really a Bitcoin meetup. I remember there was one strange little business where you could go in and it was like a Bitcoin bank. They'd custody it for you, but that doesn't really make sense. So, in order to break into the industry, I was like, okay, I'm going to travel to the crypto epicenters of the world, and it's going to be a long shot, but I'm going to try to get in. I thought it was going to be a long shot, but what I didn't realize was like how welcoming and accepting the industry was, and how much they needed people who had like professional, capacity in different areas to come in. So first place I landed was Berlin. And first place I interviewed, status.im, got a job, had a great experience with those guys. Really, kind of learned a lot. And we did a huge ICO in 2017. Again, long story short, had gotten back in touch with Eric, and you know, he brought me into Shapeshift to build their business development department. So was with them for a number of years. Also, really great experience. Did some work for other exchanges, and then decided to found my own company in the space in the gaming and play to earn sort of genre or subsegment.
Love it. Love it.
Yep.
So for those listening in who aren't familiar with the X to earn just landscape in Web3, would you mind just sort of educating us on like what's going down? And obviously there's some big headlines, some big names going on in this space. But for those that aren't familiar, would you mind just sort of giving us a 101?
Yeah, I think the most simple way to think about it is people's time and attention are valuable. I mean, we've learned that from like the Web2 dynamos, like the juggernauts in the space. Where did they really make money? It was like monetizing people's time, their eyeballs, their data, and things like that. And what we're able to do in Web3 is sort of put that back in the user's hands as like an economic item that they control. Some other company doesn't get to decide how that's valued or how that's sold. The user kind of gets to capture some or all of that economic upside. Play to earn is a pretty simple concept if you really zero in on it. It's, you're participating in some game or some farm or some grind or some collective adventure, and you are being rewarded financially for doing so, either in a native token or a blue chip crypto or in some other way.
Got it. Yeah, and then there's other ones, right? Like move to earn, and like what is it? What have you seen out there for the sort of X to earn space?
Yeah, move to earn's a big one. I've heard like there's even like it's kind of a meme, but like work to earn. Like a lot of times people contribute stuff in Web 2, and like whether it's open source or whether it's some kind of philanthropy or humanitarian thing. But like with Web3, sometimes there's, EV that gets attached to that. Like maybe you get an airdrop token, or maybe you get just a certification that you were part of this. So like you could be a scientist as part of some decentralized group working on some problem or some issue or some collective, and there could be value attached to that, whether it's through a native token or through some NFT, or if it does eventually financialize or become like a market facing entity, you get to participate in the upside. So work to earn, kind of a meme, but like that's a thing now. It's like anything that people are investing time, attention, money, focus, like if you're expending something, there's probably going to be some mechanism, some reward and incentive mechanism.
So one of the biggest names, obviously, in play to earn is Axie Infinity. Can you tell? Can you tell, for those that aren't familiar? Like, I know it's huge, certain parts of the world, like Philippines in particular, but can you sort of explain what's going on there?
Yeah, Axie is absolutely the 800-pound gorilla in the room, the play to earn space. They pioneered a lot of stuff. I think they're going to continue to do so. How could you not, with a war chest the size that they have at this point? Like I think more Filipinos have Axie or Ethereum addresses now than credit cards and things. Like I've heard just crazy statistics. So like Axie's interesting. Most play to earn companies today, like they're building a specific game, a specific ecosystem, and an economy within that. So typically it's you buy certain assets, you use those assets within the economy. Those assets either generate more of the same asset or another asset that's required in the economy that you can either then use or sell to kind of leverage your financial position up in the space. And there's a lot of, there's been a few successes that have followed Axie. And there's been, it's kind of hard to replicate that same model across a million different types of games. I do think we're going to see big publishers start to incorporate types of play to earn mechanics. It'll probably be slow at first, and slow, and then all of a sudden everybody's doing something.
Yeah.
And then what we're focused on is really just pulling out the incentive system, the play to earn functionality, and applying that across any game, any experience, any video game experience that communities of people want to do. And when I say we, it's Arena.gl.
Yeah. All right. So that leads us to then, I'm very curious, right? The entrepreneurs listening in, that are either thinking about building in Web3 or currently building in Web3, always interested in the story. So what was the origin story for your company, and how, what was the aha moment in that story?
Well, I think there was a few, but
Yeah.
it's all kind of a big serendipitous, mush that happened. I was working at Shapeshift, and one of my colleagues there just so happened to be my direct neighbor. We became great friends. We were both super into gaming, and I think we both kind of threw some ideas around. Like literally, it was like a Seinfeld Kramer neighbor relationship. I'd open my door, and his door was right there.
Sure. Yeah.
And he, I think, came up with this idea. He was like, "Hey, I'm super into PUBG, and I'm watching all these grudge matches happen online, and the loser typically just like rage quits and walks away and doesn't like pay up. So why don't we make a simple Ethereum smart contract where both parties can shoot some Ethereum into it, and then it'll pay the winner at the end, and people can't, cheat the bet that they made." So we kind of started there. And again, I don't want to like bore the audience with a super long story, but long story short, what we found through kind of building and iterating and talking to community members was, yeah, like people love to like gamble on stuff, but there is this huge void of infrastructure in terms of community gaming. Like no one is building for groups of people who are not esports teams, who are just like, regular gamers who, and there's tons of these, hundreds of millions of people, if not billions of people who are gamers today. No one's building infrastructure for them. If you look at the tools and the services that people were using, they're using like Google Sheets that was the big thing. Like they'd be like, okay, I'm going to put my team in here, and we're going to, do brackets this way. It's just a mess. And so what we realized was, okay, there's a huge opportunity in this specific space. And how do we build an incentive layer on top of that? And that's how we got to what Arena is today.
Yeah, because in my own story, like I remember, like I was a huge gamer growing up, and then in the 90s, late 90s, coming into college, like Half-Life Team Fortress. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I tell you what, every dorm and every university, that's all you could hear was Half-Life sounds. And I kind of realized, like, I think I might need to take a bit of a break from video games. And so finished the degree, kind of, and I still game a little bit here or there, but, got the doctorate, built some businesses. And then after like selling those businesses now I'm fast forward a decade in the early 2010s. I'm like, oh man, I've basically taken a decade off of gaming. Where are things at? Like, and I remember a friend said, you know what, you should just go play Skyrim, and so I sat for about a long time, sat down. I was so blown away by what they did with that. I'm just so incredible. I will still sit down and play that game because it's just incredible. But it wasn't until, let's say, fast forward a couple of years, Destiny comes out. That was my first real, like, I don't, played around a little bit League of Legends, a little bit Dota 2, a little bit of the, like what the actual esports stuff that's out there. But it wasn't until, I don't think I've shared this story on this podcast before, but it wasn't until I was playing Destiny and playing with people all around the world, right? And experiencing that for the first time, where I'm going in a raid and getting after it. And then somebody says, oh, hey, would you all mind if I live stream this? And we're like, sure. Right. We're like, oh, okay. Now all of a sudden we're on Twitch and there are thousands of people watching us. And that's when I realized, this is I mean, this was probably mid 2010s. I'm like, wow, I'm already very late to this game. But the community aspect of what's gone down and how that's evolved, and so all the different types of games out there, it feels like, and I'm curious to get your thought, because it's actually the play to earn is a bit controversial, right? I mean, a lot of these gaming communities are like, get your crypto out of our get your crypto out of our thing, because we like our little communities where we're gaming. I don't know, what have you seen out there? Is that like, what, first of all, what are the gaming communities that you're most interested in, and like what would you comment on that general sentiment?
Oh, there's a lot to break down there. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There's certainly pushback. Some of it, I think you mentioned, like it's kind of deserved. There's a lot of scams. There's a lot of people who are asking for value before they deliver value. That's not how you want to break into a new industry or make people feel comfortable with you. You should bring them value and then show them why you deserve to be part of their experience. So I think what a lot of the tact a lot of crypto companies and people and Web3 people, we're so used to these financialized, oh, we'll take a flyer on this and it might work out really well for you in the future. Like that's been our staple. That's how we got to where we are today. But with gamers, like they don't really like, they're not gaming to like try to get involved in like the next Bored Ape. They're gaming because they want to game.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting tangent. Like part of the reason Ethereum is even a thing today is because Vitalik had a bad experience with World of Warcraft. Like some of his items either got nerfed or taken away from him, and he was like, "That's bullshit. Like I earned these things, part of my gaming." So like the gamer sort of mantra, like the building up your characters or the building up of your skill and the collective community cred you have, like crypto is really good for all of those things. So gamers are going to love Web3 and crypto. It's just, we need to work through some of the hurdles and some of the, tectonic plates crashing into each other that are happening right now. Look, any big, crossing of the Rubicon or, paradigm shift that happens in the world, there's always a huge amount of resistance. People didn't like electricity at first. People didn't like going from horses to cars. People are resistant to change. It's totally normal. It will not even be a footnote in the history books, I don't think, in like 20, 25 years, like people aren't even going to remember this like little weird, I don't know if you want to call it resistance or battle or whatever the hell it is. Like maybe there'll be like a small group of Luddite holdouts, but I doubt it, because the only way that this goes forward is for crypto to sort of, if it's going to have a place in gaming, it's going to cater to gamers. It's not gonna go the other way around, where gamers have to, become crypto people. It's going to be our industry courting the gaming industry in a way that they like. So I guess you can take that as you will, but it's certainly, genies don't go back in bottles, and we're here.
Yeah. Okay, so then who is the target, the persona, the customer type that would be really into what you're building? Like what is that community? Get us into the mind space of someone that's going to be interacting with what you're building.
So for us, it's anybody who's trying to coordinate group video gaming experiences. It could be, it's everyone from the gamers themselves to Discord server managers to the streamers to anyone else who's like a community manager, organizer, leader. All of those people, all of those different user types get incentives just for using our infrastructure. They don't have to buy anything. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to invest. They don't have to like take a huge flyer that we're going to be a success. You can use us for free, and we will reward you with tokens for doing so.
Got it. Okay. And so then just to take it from a different angle in terms of describing what you do, what problem are you solving for those community managers? They're running the gaming, the Discords. What is it that's like, I need to go use this.
Yeah.
That's compelling them to get after it.
Well, what we had to do is we looked at like pain points in the community gaming experience thus far. And we actually built our platform's live and it works. And we built something that's useful even without an incentive system. So like rather than people using, Challenge for brackets and Google Sheets for managing, your teams and your whatever else, and Venmo for payments, and I don't know how the hell you even do sponsorships for big communities, but it's like it's all messed. We put all of that into one platform.
Yeah.
We made it super easy, free, seamless. It's nice to have a beautiful GUI to kind of do that stuff with rather than using, Excel type experience. So we launched that product and we got traction before we even started talking about the crypto stuff.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah. So like that was a big thing for us. Like we didn't want to do, been in crypto for a while. I've done here's a white paper. Here's how we think it's going to work. Give us a ton of money. We kind of went the opposite direction. We wanted to build kind of a first principles business, get a ton of users, get a ton of traction, get sponsors involved, and then say, oh, here's the cherry on top. Like for every different type of behavior you use our platform for, we're going to reward you with tokens. And then we had to build an economy around those tokens, and that's what one of the things we're working on now. But Web3 crypto enables you to do these kinds of things.
And what's the pitch from the community manager to the gamers? Like why is it a no-brainer to come in? Obviously they have everything in one place. But are the gamers also getting
Yeah.
Are they're earning while the community managers are also earning? Like what does that token model look like?
100%. Yeah. So there's like, depending on how, today we're deciding how users are rewarded for different types of behavior. So if you're a community manager and you organize 1,000-person tournament, you're going to get X tokens. If you participate in that tournament, you're going to get Y tokens. In the future, based on the number of tokens you hold, you'll be able to vote in a DAO and decide, what's best for the protocol. And what do we want to incentivize? I'm going real deep here, real fast, but it's essentially everybody gets rewarded at different levels. And today, we as a group are kind of like doing that proof of concept and showing people how that can be done. But in the future, the community that uses the protocol will decide how rewards are dealt with.
Which ecosystems, which chains are you on right now?
So the tokens today, I should have mentioned this long before, but the tokens today are just it's like a gift card platform credit. We are going to do some kind of mechanism in the future, whether it's an airdrop or whether people can change their experience to Web3, so on and so forth. We've minted tokens both on Polygon and Ethereum. We're probably going to there will be an element that is always Ethereum, but we'll probably do, like, gaming's like a high velocity activity. There's a lot of, like, in crypto, we call them transactions, but there's a lot of different things that are going to be taking place. We don't want gamers to incur hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in, that's the life I live right now. I don't know what my weekly fee spend is on ETH, but it's thousands for sure. You can't ask kids who just want to play a game or adults who just want to play a game to incur those costs. So I think we're leaning towards Polygon right now. So like maybe the day-to-day activity stuff happens on Polygon, but then maybe some of we'll call them grail items that give you advanced features or more functionality or other cool stuff. Like maybe if you're holding like a Arena Genesis NFT, that's on ETH. So
yeah. And the reason why I ask is because we have this new DAO that is training Web 2 product managers to become Web 3 product managers. And that architecture and that design that you just talked through is a good example of the types of things that a Web3 product manager needs to understand. And
yeah, definitely.
Right. And It's an interesting scenario because Polygon, for those who aren't familiar listening in, right? Polygon is a side chain of Ethereum. You're still using Ethereum addresses. There's a whole infrastructure with MetaMask and other wallets that make that easier for and so it's kind of a no-brainer if you want lots of transactions to kind of happen with low gas fees on Polygon, and then the big ticket items are going to be up on mainnet, even though gas fees right now the gas fees aren't super, well, tomorrow that might change, but
Yeah.
right now gas fees hasn't been too bad the last couple of weeks, but a month ago it was easy to see $100-$200 gas fees for every transaction. What advice for people learning how to be product architects, product designer, product managers in Web3 based on what you've learned thus far in your journey?
It's so, like, when I started here, I remember being able to go like all the way through everything on Twitter, everything on Reddit. I could consume every piece of crypto information every day. Like as late as 2017, like I would know what's going on everywhere in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, like all the other random stuff that was coming out. I could read everything. Now I don't think I can read everything that's happening with like Uniswap, which is like one application on Ethereum. So the signal to noise issue right now is really hard for people who are coming in. I would say, look, I'm not like a maxi, but if you're one of the challenges I think happens is people will come in and different things resonate with different people. So they'll get pulled in by some marketing pitch, by some chain. And one of the challenges with crypto is like all of these things are essentially like businesses. Businesses can fail. Like if you set up all of your infrastructure on, I don't want the podcast to get flamed or me to get flamed too much, but let's just call it blockchain X.
Sure.
And blockchain X, doesn't get developer traction, however they're doing the consensus models and the security, like whether it's the stakers or the miners or, participation falls out. It never really dies, but it doesn't enable you to grow as a business. And you've just made a monumental investment in terms of like your critical infrastructure as a business. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is like there are pitfalls and you can fall into them. So try to make you've got to be very, very conservative and pragmatic about your infrastructure choices. And there are ways to recover. Like if you built your product on a chain that doesn't get traction, you can recover from that. It's just expensive into both time and resources and money and all of that. So you really have to like keep an ear to the track of like what's working, who's funding what, what people are excited about, and most importantly, like what developers are building on.
Yeah.
And if you're building on a chain that has a ton of marketing hype and there's no real dev mind share, you're probably going to be in a world of pain if you choose that path. What makes it even harder is they put out like there's all kinds of manipulated statistics out there. So you could look at like GitHub, commits or whatever, and there's like that's unfortunately not enough. Like you kind of have to get out there, get into the community, and go to a bunch of conferences and see like how many developers have I met from X chain versus Y chain. Like what are big VC firms investing in terms of already established protocols? Like I think Polygon just raised another 500 million from real players that are not even traditional crypto players, but like real global players last month. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be around. In 2 years, they're still going to be here. There's going to be people developing on it. Ethereum developers can develop on Polygon. So you have to learn about EVM compatibility. So there's a lot of little things. Right. But I guess like in addition, so you've kind of got to be really shrewd and defensive and careful about what to learn about infrastructure and what to learn about ecosystems. Like that's the first thing. And then you just have to be pragmatic, roll with the punches and play the hand you're dealt. Like I would love it if we could just build on Ethereum layer 1 and like that was it, decision done, like easy. But the reality is the infrastructure is constantly changing and evolving and improving. And you just have to be ready to you have to stay at the bleeding edge and be ready for what's next, and catch the waves at the right time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, that's good. Appreciate that. Okay, so I'm realizing as we've been talking here that those who are outside of the gaming community may actually have no idea what Arena does.
Right.
Would you mind just doing like a, hey, outside investor listening in, a little bit into the podcast here, just to make sure that we sync people in to so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah. I should have started with that. So the whole concept behind Arena is play to earn for any game. So we've pulled out the incentive system, the play to earn mechanisms that Web3 crypto companies typically build their games around, the economies that they build within games, and we've applied that to any game. And the way that we've done that is we've built infrastructure for communities of gamers, to run team infrastructure, league infrastructure, calendars, every bracket type you could imagine, like the ways that people organize groups of people to play video games. And a lot of this, like, just for people who aren't super familiar, like we talked about Twitch earlier, a lot of times you'll get, Twitch streamer A and Twitch streamer B, and they'll want to do a grudge match, not between each other necessarily. Sometimes they do that, but sometimes it's their communities that are facing off. So, and sometimes there's multiple communities that are facing. So, like, how do you run Google Sheets to do this? It's super complicated, but we've made all that super easy. So, in essence, we built infrastructure for community gaming, and then everybody at different levels is incentivized to use our infrastructure for their gaming experiences.
That's good. Yeah. So, okay, just to be clear for those that aren't in it, any game, meaning any game where it's going to be probably live streamed, like it could be chess, right? Yeah. You could, because you can play it online and stream it, right? Or it could be.
That's it.
Yeah.
Chess is one of our biggest titles, actually. Chess, Call of Duty, whatever game you want to do. And you do right now, the way that we're proceeding is if there's a huge prize pool that we bring in or that a sponsor brings in, you have to stream it. And that's so we can know about finality, like who won. But if it's just a game, if it's just a chess match or whatever, the guy who organizes it inputs scores from the team members and stuff like that. Like there's still incentives there as well with Arena tokens.
Yeah. Interesting. So, and then this would be like this particular chess person might do this, like play another chess, and then the communities around that are fans of those two would come together. The coordination of that face-off, that's what you're saying would be
on Arena. Yeah. So like chess, for example, like you don't, like we hooked into chess.com's APIs and we pull in people's player ratings. So like typically if we're doing like a sub battle where like the subs of one Twitch community face off against the subs of another Twitch community, they can go in, register for the event, and then the community leaders, whether it's mods or the streamers themselves, can say like, okay, your rankings here, and they try to match people up so it's kind of like evenly matched. So like that's like one example of like chess specifically. You want to know player rankings and you want to know like who's white and black. So yeah, our infrastructure handles all of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And then what's like the most complex gaming match off, like between huge teams? Can they organize all this and then face off with Arena, or what would you say is one of the more complex setups that you all have coordinated?
Yeah, I would say so. Over a couple months ago, we did a huge. We probably had the majority of the big chess influencers and streamers and grandmasters as part of this like $50,000 tournament that we put together, and it was extremely complex because it wasn't just like two communities. We had like 8 communities, multiple skill levels. It wasn't single elimination, so it was like kind of a more complex bracket structure. So that was probably the most complex. But like, really, we can do if there's people doing it, like we can facilitate. The people reach out every day with like weird new game types, and sometimes we have to add a little bit of like one of the weird things that we had to add that we weren't thinking about before we started doing chess was like the white and black thing, like who went first. Um,
Uh,
so yeah, it's like I don't think there's any game type that like we couldn't handle really.
yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah, the sub battles are the most complicated just because
Sure.
it's different teams with different users within those teams, and then you have different types of elimination tournaments and things like that.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Have you done with Texas Hold'em and with poker as well, or that's not quite is that a whole different world?
that's we totally could, and I think casino type gaming, financialized gaming will be one of the big things we're doing coming up. Is we're doing a big, well, we have this thing called meta factions, which is going to be this huge league that starts on Arena. It's going to be NFT communities holding like battling in different gaming genres in seasons. So one of the things that most crypto people do is play poker or know how poker works. So that's definitely on the roadmap. One of the other cool like Web3 features of Arena. So like this whole NFT Web3 thing is all about community, right? It's all about like being part of that community, getting perks, um, communicating, doing stuff together. So one of the things that we're rolling out, I think next week, is going to be if you're holding an NFT, you can connect your wallet, and you're automatically part of the team or club. We call them clubs for that NFT holder. So like if you're a Bored Ape, you'll automatically be part of the Bored Apes club.
Hmm.
Like just connect your wallet to Arena and that's it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So community coordination is very, very difficult for the NFT community. Like I don't want to drag Discord too much, but they're not doing a great job of like catering to, and just from a security perspective or from a lot of different feature requirements. So we're absolutely going to move into that space of like helping NFT communities coordinate with one another because we're a Web3 native platform.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's super cool. So that in that light, then what other from a vision standpoint, like roadmap, like what that I mean, being able to instantly coordinate between NFT communities so that they can get in the arena and that super entertaining. But what else is on the roadmap? What else in the future are you excited about for the direction that you're heading?
So I haven't announced this yet, but we're going to be doing a big NFT drop, world class artists. But again, like rather than doing a drop and being like, here's our lofty roadmap for 10 years from now, we have a functioning platform and product, and people can get utility right away. So we're really excited about this drop. We're working with world class artists who I won't say their names yet, but some big guys have done a lot with Hollywood video games and stuff. So we're very, very excited about just like really moving in every direction that Web3 is moving in. So we want to make sure that it's kind of tough. The best thing a startup can do is be like laser focused on one thing. But we have the gamer user group who are like, I'm not sold on Web3 yet, but we think we're going to sell them because we're going to give them rewards just for doing what they already love doing and making their life easier. But then we also have to cater to these crypto people who, yeah, most of them are gamers, but like, what drives them and what makes them kind of interested in a product? It's typically like financialization. How am I going to make money off this? And then it's community as well. Like, what's my status here? How do I show my status symbols? And we're really good at those types of things. So although it seems like these two diverse groups, like we kind of hit two birds with one stone by just delivering on this roadmap of incorporating Web3 into a full featured social dimension.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super cool. So then in this space or in tangential, I'm just curious because a lot of the entrepreneurs listening in, getting into Web3 may not even really have an idea yet or even know what space to play in. What do you think is sort of the next wave of things that are interesting to you that aren't just another Bored Ape yacht club, right? Like what are the next things in Web3 or even like in your gaming world that you feel like, hey, we could use some entrepreneurs building here?
Yeah, I think this idea that Web3 is just going to be profile picture NFTs forever is short-sighted.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, when people think about NFTs, there's like the right-click save meme of like, oh, it's just a picture, but like, it's really such a short-sighted way of looking at it. But we as an industry have been kind of short-sighted because like we've just really catered to kind of like the basics, like art and collectibles. But if you think about what people could do with whether it's exclusivity around clubs and events, whether it's discount codes, whether it's elite VIP passes, semi-fungible activity where it's like a rewards card. What I'd like to see is like big corporate, like big groups getting involved in not just nominal ways, not just as a marketing exercise, but like maybe Amazon sells Prime memberships as an NFT, or maybe, I'd certainly like to see more real adoption from like, large corporates. For startups, for entrepreneurs, it's really like possibilities are limitless right now. There's so many pain points. There's so much. I mean, everything from basic like wallet infrastructure. We need more wallets. We need better wallets. We need, to block explorers and indexing. Like in the Ethereum ecosystem, there's so much reliance on just Etherscan right now. Like it'd be nice if we had a,
That's
backup.
true.
It's like this is supposed to be this decentralized world, and we've got so many of these pain points. I'd like to see more Infuras. I'd like to see more critical infrastructure. It's hard for someone who's like outside of the space to go in and build critical infrastructure, so maybe that's not fair. But it's not like the opportunities start there. The application layer, like we're still just scratching the surface. So the cool thing about crypto too is you can basically come in and take a shot on goal right away. Yeah. You don't you don't need to go get everyone's approval. You don't need to, you could just be a guy with an idea, form a collective around it. Everyone's incentivized to partake in the upside and build.
Yeah. I love that. Anything else that we haven't covered already that you want to share with the audience about what you're up to or thinking about in the space?
Gosh, there's so much going on. No, I mean, I think, come check us out at, it's Arena.gl. You don't have to pay anything. You can just go claim some tokens if you want to. And yeah, I'm super optimistic and really looking forward to where the whole space goes. I think there's a lot of people. I mean, I was like this back in 2014. I was like, how do I break into this space? No, it's easy. Like, just go. Contribute to a DAO. Reach out to companies that you like that are doing things that you think are cool. They'll probably hire you because like none of us can fill roles that we have open just because we're all like the. I think Austin Griffith has Solidity courses. I can't remember the URL right now, but like I'm hearing tons of stories of people basically doing 6 weeks of those and then getting like 6-figure offers, like high 6-figure. So like you don't have to wait and you don't have to be worried. Like if you're interested in getting into this space, you'll figure it out.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's super good advice. And yeah, for those who aren't familiar with BanyanDAO, I mean, that's what we're doing is we're training people to think about how to architect and in Web3, because there are lots of resources like Figment Learn or Rabbit Hole or different tutorials out there for you to quickly learn. And then there are so many teams hiring right now. Talk about supply and demand. There is not a lot of supply of both the engineers in Web3, but especially, in my opinion, the product managers in Web3. And I agree. The opportunities are pretty enormous right now.
Definitely. Yeah, it's exciting.
Exciting. Well, Chase, hey, this has been awesome. Really appreciate your time. All right, a couple quick things before you go. Number one, I have a general newsletter where I write about technology and startups and health science and teaching people to code. And I write about a variety of different subjects that we talk about on this show. So if you go to wclittle.com, there you'll be able to subscribe, and you'll also be able to subscribe to particular topics. If you're just interested in one or a few of them, you'll be notified right when I publish new content in those areas. Number two, my partners and I at Proto Ventures have a portfolio company called Startup Rocket. If you go to startuprocket.com, there you'll be able to receive coaching guides and customize an operations framework for you and your team and your advisors to be on the same page in terms of what is the appropriate next step for you in your entrepreneurial journey. And finally, if you wouldn't mind leaving a review anywhere that you have listened to this podcast or watched this podcast, it would be super helpful to help those who might be interested in consuming this content as well. Thank you.